Welcome to the United Pubcast. It's Manchester United 3, Everton 1 in the FA Cup. Manchester United progress to the fourth round of the oldest competition in the world. What a performance it was too. I've got to say, it was pretty hairy at times, wasn't it? George, good morning, mates. So we're going to go through everything that happened in this match, and Tom should be joining me shortly. But nonetheless, let's kick things off and dissect this game a little bit. The performance itself, I didn't think United were quite at it. I struggled to get going, didn't have any sort of consistency or flow to the performance. Again, we saw Luke Shaw deputise at centre-back. I might start there, actually. Shaw starts at centre-back, which, when you think Martinez is now fit, I thought he would have gone with Martinez and Varane, his strongest back four, surely, but it didn't pan out that way. And then we obviously saw the likes of Maguire on the bench, Martinez on the bench. And you could say it cost United, but we'll get into all of the goals and all of the talking points from the match. We'll start with the result, obviously. United progress. At the end of the day, it's a results-driven business, and United are managing to progress in the FA Cup. It's all you can ask for. But ultimately, if you are happy that Manchester United won this game, hit a like on the video. It's the only thing to do. But let's start on the negatives, I suppose. I thought that the performance just wasn't there. It wasn't up to scratch. I thought the midfield really struggled to get a hold of the game. And you know what? Credit to Everton. I thought that they actually troubled Manchester United at times. They managed to be difficult. They were frustrating. They were compact. And United struggled to get their way through. But who's your man of the match? Obviously, we will do 3-2-1. So I want to get your man of the matches in, because when it comes to the 3-2-1s, I think it is up for debate. It's not going to be as straightforward as everyone thinks, will it be? But on the performance itself, I will talk about Rashford once Tom joins me. But looking at the performance, let's focus on the positives. Antony scores again. He's struggling. He hasn't been playing too well for the last couple of months. He started like a house on fire, Antony, the Brazilian. He came in, he scored 3 goals in 3 games. And you thought to yourself, yeah, we got ourselves a player here, £100 million. Yeah, he's showing his value. Sorry, I should say £85 million, €100. You know how it is. But he's really struggled as of late. He didn't really play too much at the World Cup. And look, to be honest, I don't like to put too much of an onus on World Cup performances, because obviously when you think about it, it's 5, 6, 7 games. It's not a lot of football. So it wouldn't really be sensible to judge someone off that anyway. But nonetheless, Antony's been struggling. He hasn't been playing well. He obviously missed the last match against Bournemouth through injury or illness or whatever it might have been. He comes in today and he shows a little bit of that Brazilian flair. He did that. He did the turn in the second half, which, time and place, of course. But, it was nice to see him do something with a bit of confidence. But he scores the goal. And we know who sets it up. And again, I'm going to reserve any commentary on Rashford until Tom joins me, because I'm going to be asking the question, is Marcus Rashford world class? So make sure you do stay tuned for that debate. Maybe it's not a debate in your mind, but let us know. But yeah, back to Antony. It's good to see him score a goal. I thought Anthony Martial, once again, just struggling to get into the game, just not getting involved enough. And I think he really needs a goal. And I think it's hurting his confidence a little bit. He's still contributing, Anthony Martial, but really needs a goal. And when you look at this performance as a whole, I think the scoreline will be kinder than what the actual 90 minutes reflected. But ultimately, United need to score more. They need to score more goals. And whether that's personnel, systemic, or otherwise, they need to find a way to unlock defenses that particularly sit compact. But thankfully, I don't think that'll be a problem for United in the short term. We've got obviously Everton. First Everton. What am I saying? We've got Charlton in the League Cup. And look, I think they will play compact. So again, I think we'll face similar challenges to what we did today. Obviously, Everton are a different caliber of team in theory, but I think Charlton won't be easy. They've progressed in the League Cup for a reason, and they're going to be difficult. This is the biggest game of a lot of those players' careers. You're versing Manchester United. It's a big deal. So they're going to be up for it. And United are going to need to find a way to unlock defenses. And I think if you look at today's match, we were lucky. We were really lucky to get away with it. Let's talk about Everton for a moment. they probably had when you talk about control in a football match, it's probably Everton that had more control than United did. Thought it, particularly in the second half, Everton were pushing United. And in the grand scheme of things, one of the 3 goals was an own goal from Connor Cody. And it really shouldn't have been. I mean, I think he's a disastrous defender. If you go back and watch our preview for this match, I said it. If Everton, you look at Everton, they're a basket case, right? An absolute basket case of a football team. But I said you can measure Everton's success or lack thereof by the signing of Connor Cody. If you ever watch this guy play for Wolves, he is a Liverpool fan, so let's start there. He's a Liverpool fan playing for Everton. So Jamie Carragher 2.0, I guess just on the flip side. But when you're signing players like Connor Cody, with all due respect, you have to question where are your ambitions as a football club. And if your ambition is to be in a relegation scrap and maybe just make it into the Premier League every year, then so be it. But Connor Cody's a disaster. And speaking of disasters, my co-host and good friend Tom has joined me. Tom, how you going, mate? How's the game? How's Scruffy Murphy's?
Good morning, Larry. Yeah, as you can see, the bar is empty behind me, but I was packed downstairs. But first of all, good morning to you. Good morning to all the listeners. And here at the pub, brave the cold, brave the sort of Manchester weather. But I see you're nice and cozy at home.
I am cozy at home. The things that I've already sort of touched on, Tom, are Anthony. I'm happy he scored. I don't think his overall performance was in the right direction. I don't think he was brilliant, but it was probably the most pleasing in the sense. I like that he did a little turn in the second half. I like that he scored a goal. How did you measure the Brazilian's performance?
Just what he needed. Yeah, we can get into performances and think maybe not enough exactly what you want for whatever he is, £100 million player sort of thing. But ultimately, the position that he was in and the situation he found himself in regards to his form, he needed a goal. He needed something on the board to sort of remind people that he's here. And ultimately, that's what he did. You say there, he played with a little bit more confidence. Obviously, not what we want moving forward 100%, but ultimately, from where he has been, solid performance and a match-winning or kind of match-winning goal. You have to say, okay, fair play, he did his job, and hopefully he can build on that. I expect him to start in the derby against Manchester City at home, so it'll only do him good.
Tom, when I started this video, I said I'm reserving all commentary on Marcus Rashford until you join me, because what I will ask you, once we've dissected the game, once we've done 3-2-1s, I'm going to ask you if Marcus Rashford is world-class. And if he's not world-class, whether he should start being entered into that conversation. So I want you to think about it for a little bit, because we're going to come back to that, okay? So make sure you get your thoughts ready. But I'll say Anthony Martial, once again, I thought he struggled in terms of the match, but I was saying Everton, I actually thought had a better hold of the game. I thought they controlled the game better than United did, but I think United obviously were better in moments because I suppose we had the players to do it, and obviously a Connor Cody own goal. Do you agree with that, or do you think United were the better side over the 90?
No, I think United deserved to win. Obviously, watching at the pub, you're chatting to a lot of people, and you maybe don't get the best analysis of what's happening. But ultimately, I think United deserved to be winners. I think it was a close game, maybe 3-1 potentially flatters us. Maybe it's the goal that should have been decided, by the game that should be decided by the odd goal. But ultimately, I think United were the better team. But it was I wouldn't say old-fashioned cup tie, but it was an old-fashioned cup tie in regards to it was tight, it was physical. Obviously, one or two sort of reckless challenges from both teams at times, and I think that happens in cup football. And when that happens, it's going to be a tight game. On another day, with a little bit of luck for Everton, yeah, they do come out the winners, and then we're having a far different discussion. But ultimately, that's what cup football is. And forget their sort of situation in the league. They're a Premier League team. This is not Man United going away to the Oxford or Charlton in the League Cup. It's one of those. It's an old Premier League tie. They had a draw away at the Etihad last week. So, well, we can't sneeze at them.
Yeah, can't sneeze at them. Can I ask you, though, I want to talk about some individual performances on the Manchester United side of things. Anthony Martial, how did you assess his performance?
Poor. Yeah, I thought he was poor. Ultimately, he was poor. I thought he was finding himself in one or two good positions, which I think, as yourself, as a big fan of Anthony Martial, you'll take the positives in that. Ultimately, if you're not a fan of Martial, you'll see the end product being he was lacking. So ultimately, I thought it was a poor game by Martial. Anthony needed the goal, so did Anthony Martial. Anthony got it. Unfortunately, Martial for himself didn't. So ultimately, I thought he was poor, rightfully substituted. And again, not so much to be critical of Martial, but again, just in terms of the situation, highlights the need for a striker, because it wasn't happening for him today. If we don't get those other goals, where's the other goal going to come from? And that ultimately has to come from the transfer market.
Yeah, agreed. Malacia, he comes in at left back. I got to
Yeah.
say, Luke Shaw starting at centre back really surprised me.
Yeah, the selection at centre back was interesting. Malacia, I thought, was the right substitution. I thought it was right to take him off, but ultimately I thought did quite well. Maybe had a couple of tough 5 minutes before that he got substituted, but ultimately I thought had a good game. Again, how do you define good game? But coming in a tough situation, I thought Everton were better than what I thought they would. I said in the preview, I thought Everton would roll over and they wouldn't be up for it. I was completely wrong. I thought Everton did do well, and obviously they did make things tough for our back four. And ultimately, Malaysia dealt with the problems well. Maybe someone could point out who's watched the game in a little bit more detail in the comfort of their home will be able to point out one or two mistakes or one or two good things. But ultimately, I'd be looking at a 10 performance. I'd say a good 6.5, 7 out of 10.
United concede one goal this match. The first goal conceded at Old Trafford since.
I'm happy with that, Larry.
Why are you happy with that?
As I said, you want a comfortable win in this game. The longer we go without conceding, the closer we are to conceding our next goal. And if we hadn't conceded here, we're close to conceding our next goal, and that's against Manchester City. And I think I'm happy to get it over and done with. Call me superstitious, or that makes no sense, but for me, that's how my brain works. I'm happy to concede the goal, not lose any points, and we don't have to worry, oh, God, we're about to concede every time City get the ball.
I look at that back four, the one that started today, and look, I'm not going to put all the blame on the back four, but I think the Luke Shaw at centre back and Malacia at left back, I don't know if that works too well. And actually, it's not sure that I put the blame on. The reason I asked you about Malacia is because I actually think, I know obviously Calvert-Lewin's goal was ruled offside. If you look at Malacia's positioning in the build-up to that goal, and then ultimately the goal which doesn't get rewarded, he's all over the shot. I like that he puts a tackle in. I like his tenacity, but he's lacking a little bit.
No, I haven't discussed with Rob from It's a Football thing. Yeah, he's got that little bit of eagerness into him in regards to sort of anticipation, and sometimes that is a positive trait to have. Sometimes it's a negative. I thought at times today you could have seen it as a little bit of a negative, but I put that down to also Everton being good. No, not good in regards to fantastic football or anything, but providing a good test for our back four. And he's a young player, so I know you're going to struggle a little bit. So there is definite case of that.
In terms of his ability, and again, I don't want to write a player off, and if you want to sit on the fence, sit on the fence. But that's not what we're about. So I want you to pretend you're 10 beers down and it's an honesty session. Malacia, could you see him ever being a first choice left back for Manchester United? Or do you see him purely as always going to be the backup or a squad player?
At the moment, the way you see things and the way you maybe see the best left back or the best right back or whatever position in the world, you would say no, he's not the future of Manchester United in terms of first choice. But ultimately, I've been wrong about many players in the past like that. And ultimately, for what he is, he's done look. He's come in and he's looking good. Is he looking at like being the next Roberto Carlos or the next Patrice Evra? Potentially not. But I don't think he needs to be. He needs to come in and do well for Manchester United. And ultimately, he has started his career quite well. I was having a discussion there. We're talking about maybe he found himself a little bit out of form. Cast your mind back a few months, we're talking about Jadon Sancho as well. He was brilliant, wanted to beat Liverpool at Old Trafford. Now, yes, that's one performance, that's one game, but ultimately he has the tools there to perform well. So ultimately, for the signing that he was, I remember when we brought Dan James in. Now, Dan James ultimately didn't work, but when we brought him in, we thought, okay, £15 million, it is what it is. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think very similar with Malacia. What was it, £13 million? I think at the moment it's on track to prove a decent signing. We've proved that to be a great signing or a flop. Time will tell, but I'm pretty pleased with him at the moment.
If you are just joining us, Tom's going to be asked the ultimate question. Is Marcus Rashford a world-class player? So make sure you all get your comments in and your thoughts in, because we definitely will be coming to those. But speaking of getting your comments and your thoughts in, Tom, it is time for 3-2-1s. If you are new here, 3-2-1s is the concept of three points. Or after every game, we basically reward 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point to each player. Win, lose, or draw. If you're getting 3 points, you're effectively the best player on the pitch. Not necessarily man of the match, just the most impactful player. Sometimes that is the man of the match, sometimes it's not. So, for example, David De Gea might pull out a save that wins United the Champions League. He did nothing else all game. He's probably going to get the 3 points because he allowed us to lift up big ears. But anyway, Tom, 3-2-1s. Who's your man of the match?
Well, you just distracted me a little bit dreaming about winning the Champions League. So I'll get back on track in regards to the third round of the FA Cup against Everton. And look, it's a hard one. Maybe you have a better idea of the actual sort of overview of the match in regards to ultimate performance. But in regards to impact, maybe Marcus Rashford for me. I thought he always looked a threat. Obviously got the goal at the end. I think deservedly obviously continues his very good record at Old Trafford and his recent form. But I think as a threat in terms of the way he performed, and we're always on edge if something could happen when Rashford got the ball. I would say Rashford for 3 points in my opinion.
No debate from me. Rashford for 3 points, absolutely. I can't wait for this debate, Tom. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been stewing on it since about the 50th minute, and then after the penalty went in, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm definitely up for this. 2 points and 1 point I think could be a little bit more contentious. Can I throw one out there for you? I thought Fred's impact when he came on was really positive.
Did well.
Yeah, for that reason, I'd be going 2 points for Fred. I thought you look at his impact on the game. I thought, yeah, good performance.
I probably wouldn't disagree too strongly with that. I think you could have another discussion, maybe a little bit more in depth later, in regards to substitutions. I thought, well, it might have sort of caused a lot of frustration amongst the fan base with those subs. I could see what Eric Ten Hag was doing. I thought they were the right subs. Now, if we turned out and that goal was allowed for Calvert-Lewin, we'll be having a far different discussion about Eric Ten Hag and the subs. But ultimately, I saw what he's doing. I could fully understand it, and ultimately, it did work. So, Fred's substitute, whether it's 2 points, maybe 1 point for me, I would like to see maybe you disagree in regards to the whole performance. But just, again, the narrative around him, I was very pleased for Anthony in a very important goal. And I thought did provide a little bit of width and a bit of balance on the right-hand side. I thought got through a fair bit of work for me. So I'll be looking at Anthony and Fred, the two Brazilians. But Fred definitely did have an impact. And in regards to how important it was, I wouldn't disagree that it was sort of quote-unquote match-winning.
All right, so are you thinking Anthony for 2 points or Fred for 2 points?
I just like the goal. In terms of his confidence, he was not down in the dumps a little bit, but needed it. And I thought provided a good, solid performance on the right-hand side and ultimately got the goal. Whether it's enough for 2 points, in the chat, disagree with me, feel free. As I said, watching at the pub, you're chatting and you're looking away sort of thing. It's maybe a little bit hard to get a perfect analysis of it. But I was pleased with what I saw. But then ultimately, you do look in midfield. I thought Casemiro was sloppy at times, but also very good at times. Eriksen a little bit the same. So, look, in regards to this one, you're the host. I'll give you, obviously, Rashford for 3 points. But I'll let you in the live chat decide for the 2 and 1. My two names would be Anthony and then Fred.
I agree with Anthony and Fred. I would probably go Fred for 2. And the reason I say that is I think he came on at a crucial point in the game. And I thought, while I didn't think United really got grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, for a lack of a better term, I thought Fred had a positive. He achieved what he needed to achieve. He came on. Whenever a sub comes on, you want to see a positive impact. And I think there's no debate that Fred absolutely had a positive impact.
What did you think? I completely agree, and that's what Fred brought. Casemiro coming off. What do you think about that in terms of it ended up being the right thing? Were you surprised with that? Did you think it was going to be Bruno or Eriksen?
Is Casemiro coming off?
Yeah. Like, what did you think when you saw his number come up? Because that causes we conceded straight after in regards to that. It's like, you think, what would the reaction be to Eric Ten Hag taking Casemiro off and we concede? Ultimately, it's okay. Gets a little bit of a rest. But if we did draw 2-2, Ten Hag would have been probably wrongfully so, maybe, but a little bit under the spotlight.
I understand where Ten Hag's thinking because they're a bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this is what we mentioned in the last review, wasn't it? Casemiro is being relied on every single minute of every single game, and we're just running him into the ground. Like here we go, Football Cup, like Borchet's got it spot on here. We have 2 massive games coming up. He needs to rest. And I
actually liked it. I liked it, but I just thought if it went wrong and we didn't win the match, you could just imagine the reaction. And that reaction,
I'd live with it, I'd live with it.
Yeah, well, it would have been over top. But, I was pleased with Eric Ten Hag's management of the match.
Yeah, I think so. At the end of the day, if Ten Hag has better players to choose from, we're sitting there praising all those subs every time. I thought the timing of when he comes off was right. United are in the lead. I've got a League Cup game in the midweek, and I've got a massive game at Manchester City that if we manage to win, I'm not saying it, you're not saying it, but someone's going to say the word title somewhere, and it might just pop up. It might be talking about, Tom, what should I call this title of this video? Or we might be talking about a different title. But if United manage to win against Manchester City, it's on. And we can't have that conversation unless Casemiro is fit. So I definitely agree with the substitutions. I'm going to say Fred 2 points, Anthony 1 point. While I thought it was a step in the right direction for Anthony, needs to do more for me. The thing with Anthony, Tom, I want to see from him, and I think he will get this in his game, he needs to find a way to go on the outside of defenders. I think just at the moment,
I'd like to see him more so defend, not defend, sorry, I like him defensively on the right-hand side, but he'd be far better suited going pass plays on the left.
Yeah,
Just in
totally.
my opinion, just the way I see him play, you can understand cutting in pass plays, but on the left, he'd have a little bit more balance in regards to going past people. Now,
Giggs-esque maybe.
yeah, look, Everton obviously knows a little bit more about it than me and sort of what he provides the team. But ultimately, for me, I just looked in terms of the way he dribbles the ball to have a little bit more balance in regards to going past people on the left. He can only go past people on the right if he cuts in. I think on the left-hand side, he'll be able to go around the outside. Then ultimately, he can also cut in on his left foot on the left-hand side as well. So, tough one, but ultimately, got the goal, did well.
What do you make of Football Capital's comment here? Second goal didn't come from where Casemiro normally sits on the football pitch. I think it still impacts. Like, you can't, particularly a defensive midfielder like that, I think he's telling players where to be at times, and it just changes everything. It changes the whole cohesion of the team.
Yeah, look, it's a hard one. As I said, watching the pub, it's hard to remember exactly where that goal comes from and who's at fault. But ultimately, again, it might be nothing to do with Casemiro, just in regards to just the feeling. Take him off, we can see. It just would have just been just a feeling around it. So you're definitely not blaming Casemiro or anyone for it, or Fred or whoever the substitution was. It was an interesting one in such a tight game to take your best player off. It was risky, but ultimately got the rewards.
Absolutely. All right, Tom, it's time for that part of the video. I've been banging on about it for a little while now. 21 minutes.
I'll have my say first. Well, I'm here with the Meeting United Supporters Club. We've got a meeting in a little bit, so I'll just give my 2 cents after your question. Then I'll have to quickly jump off for you to wrap up the show. But direct your question to me.
Is Marcus Rashford world class?
It's defined. It's one of those ones. At the moment, he's performing like it, and at the moment, he's in world class form. Does that mean he's a world class player? How far? Well, what type of sample size do you want for that? Like, if Scott McTominay puts in a 10 out of 10 performance against Burnley, is he world class? Well, in that 90 minutes, he is. Overall, potentially not. So Marcus Rashford at the moment, in regards to what we define world class players at, Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, no, he's not in that category. But ultimately, he's performing like that at the moment. So his form, he's up there. And ultimately, that's all I care about. If you want to put a world class tag on it, potential is there. That is potential. He needs to do it far more, not more consistently, because he's obviously shown consistency now. But look, I wouldn't say he's world class, but I don't need him to be. I need him to perform like he's doing. And if he continues to do that, I will change my opinion on that. But at the moment, I'm just pleased with what he's doing. He's winning games for Manchester United.
I agree with you. I think he's going in the right direction. I think he's absolutely making positive contributions. And every single game, how many games now has he scored in a row?
So the people downstairs are saying 6 at Old Trafford in a row.
He's in phenomenal form. And since United have returned to action, he's scored in every single game. So long may it continue.
The back of the World Cup, he is performing very well. And
3 goals at the World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, long may it continue. I just seen Borja here in the comments here. Varane did more than Anthony on the right-hand side. It was a nice bit of skill. I don't know what he was doing there. Actually, I found a few times. Lisandro Martinez was at the top. Sometimes Harry Maguire was on right wing. Varane was on right wing. The defenders definitely had a license in that second half.
I think myself and Borja need to get on the video and talk about Anthony, because if I'm being honest, I kind of agree with a lot of what he's saying about Anthony. Maybe that's one for the future to keep an eye out on the podcast. Tom will be in the comments abusing me, I'm sure, but
I think I watched Manchester City the other day. We're having the same discussion about Mahrez. He got the goal. Manchester City fans are going to have a great discussion about Mahrez.
Mahrez is a much better player than Anthony.
Yeah, but in regards to having 1 foot, but in regards to, I'm not going to criticise Anthony for Mahrez being brilliant. I think Anthony's doing very well.
You can be 1 foot. I don't have an issue with being 1-footed, but you got to be just more well-rounded. He's just a bit too predictable for me. He always cuts in. If I was defending against him, right, like you would think, all right, as long as I stay on his left foot, as long as I show him outside, he's going to come in.
Take the price tag away, and he's a young player. I think we're affording Garnacho the opportunity to sort of develop. I think Anthony's the same thing, just because he has a price tag on him.
But see, that's the problem. Like, I agree with what you're saying in theory, right? But if you're going to, like, when you pay £85 million for something or someone, then you're saying, I'm paying that because I believe that they will be worth that in the years to come. I'm not seeing that level of ability at the moment. I think he's going to be a much better player.
And I think he'll be good enough for United. The business and the potential and the future for what he is. He's a 22-year-old footballer. That's what he is.
But you'll pay 85 million if you think someone's got world-class potential. Does he
well,
have world-class potential?
What someone thinks what the future holds, that's something that's nothing to do with what we have in front of us. And what we have in front of us is a 22-year-old footballer. I think he's 22. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in terms
it is up for debate, but it's not for debate for this video. The debate here is Marcus Rashford world-class? I think he's on his way. I'm not going to say he's there quite yet because you need to do it for more than 7 games in a row. But if we get to the end of this season and Rashford's managed to score, say, 25 or more goals, I think there's a conversation to be had. But I think that's the number. I want to see 25 or more because then you're talking about the elite of world football. I think 20 goals is a solid return and acceptable, but if you get 25, you're in that elite echelon of players.
Yeah, well, he's definitely on track for that. I have to head off, but been a pleasure having a chat with you, Larry. But hope everyone in the live chat has a good weekend. Enjoy sort of watching your thoughts after this as well. But as I said, pleasure as always, Larry. Have a good one.
See you, mate.
Cheers,
I'll
mate.
wrap up the video in a moment too. But again, guys, if you thought it was a good performance by United, make sure you hit a like on that video. And if you are new, make sure you do subscribe. We did an interview with Laurie Whitwell a couple days ago. If you haven't checked that out, go have a look at it. Laurie Whitwell is from The Athletic, covers Manchester United. He's broken a number of stories on Manchester United. And I did ask him questions about, does he expect any signings to come in January? Who's his player of the season so far? And just to get a bit of insight into what a week looks like when you are covering Manchester United, meeting Ten Hag in the press conferences, that sort of thing. It's a really good interview. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go watch it after you finish up here. But I'll come to your comments and then we'll look to wrap up the video. Okay, even if he was free, a footballer to play in the Premier League, you can't use both feet, is not good. And I know he tapped in with the right foot today, but still, look, mate, like I said, if you want to get on a video with me to talk about this, I'm more than happy to do it. I share a lot of your sentiments. I really do. Ajmal Cosman, Mahrez is not a first-team player for City. He's not, but I'll tell you what, if he was in Manchester United squad, I guarantee he starts every week. George, United need a unique left-footed player. We have too many right-footers with no left foot. Well, I think that's what Anthony is meant to be, mate. I think that's what Anthony is meant to be. But whether he goes on to be that brilliant left-footed player is another thing. I will say, I thought United had a brilliant left-footed player. He just hasn't played in nearly 12 months for reasons I won't go into. But it's one of those. I think we will leave the video there. To wrap up just in the 3-2-1s. So Marcus Rashford gets the 3 points for being brilliant. Once again, he just continues to have positive impacts on the game. And that's all you can ask of a player. He comes on, and regardless of the opposition, it's Everton, it's Manchester City away, it's Bournemouth, it's Burnley in the League Cup, whatever it is, Marcus Rashford is turning up at the moment, and he's cooking the eggs. Marcus Rashford is killing it. Is he world-class? He's on the way, I think. He's on the way. If you think Marcus Rashford is world-class, let us know in the comments. Because I think he might actually be better than I thought he was, Marcus. He might actually be better than I thought he was. But we'll wait and see. Can Rashford score 25 goals this season? Let me know that one. I'm going to back him to do it. If he continues the form he's in now, what's that, 13 goals now in the season? So he's got to score another 12. Can Rashford score another 12 goals between now and the end of May? I think he can. And if he doesn't, then United got a problem because he's the only one bagging them in at the moment. But we will leave the video there. I hope you have enjoyed the review. If you are happy with the performance, hit a like in the video. I've got lots of content coming your way. The football doesn't stop. We'll obviously have the Charlton preview coming to you shortly. Any breaking news, it's all happening. It's all happening on the podcast. So if you like your views from Down Under, make sure you are subscribed, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.